Egoistic people are everywhere in life, among friends, in the family, at work, and even in romantic relationships. They may seem kind and charming at first, but over time their true nature emerges. Egoistic individuals share certain common traits, and by paying attention to these characteristics, you can identify them. So what traits do egoistic people have? Egoistic people typically see themselves as the center of the universe. The most important thing for them is their own desires and needs, and they don't care much about what others are feeling. These individuals are skilled at manipulation and using others to achieve their goals. If you fall into their game, you'll gradually begin to feel like a figure whose sole purpose is to serve them. Recognizing them can protect you from manipulation and emotional exhaustion. So how can you identify egoistic people? Let's take a look at their most obvious traits. First, egoistic people love to be the center of attention. For them, the main focus is expressing themselves, and listening to others comes second. For example, if you try to talk to a friend about a difficult day and your stress, they might immediately change the topic to their own work problems, successes, or some trivial annoyance. These people stand out not only because of the topics they talk about, but also because of how they talk. Even when responding to others' problems, they find a way to put the spotlight on themselves. For instance, if you complain about your health issues, they might immediately say, "I was in the same situation last time, but it was even worse," and shift the focus to themselves. You start to feel like your struggles are secondary, and whatever they have experienced always seems more important. In addition, egoistic people often don't hesitate to give advice and present themselves as more knowledgeable or experienced. It's as if their opinions are always more valuable, and you should learn from their experiences. For example, if you talk about looking for a new job, they might immediately change the topic and start telling their own story, saying, "I switched jobs last year, but I am the one who knows how to take the right steps." These people not only stand out during conversations, but also in social settings. They seek praise and attention and even present small achievements as major events. Your accomplishments or those of others are either ignored or belittled. Does this sound familiar to you? Being around such people can be draining because the relationships tend to be one-sided. You listen, try to offer support, but in return, you don't receive the same understanding or interest. True friendship should be built on mutual care and understanding. A real friend is someone who listens, understands, and respects you. Pay attention to the behavior of the people around you. Are they genuinely listening to you, or are they just waiting for their turn to talk? If they struggle to listen to you, chances are you're dealing with an egoistic person. Another characteristic of egoistic people is their lack of empathy. Egoistic people have difficulty understanding and valuing others' feelings. For them, empathy is either an unnecessary weakness or a tool they use only when it serves their own interests. If something they say or do negatively affects you, they will either ignore it or accuse you of being overly sensitive. For example, if a friend's jokes hurt you and you tell them about it, they may try to brush it off by saying, "You're so sensitive. I was just joking." Instead of respecting your feelings, they would try to downplay the issue. If they truly respected your feelings, at the very least, they would apologize and make an effort not to repeat the behavior. However, for egoistic people, the most important thing is to always be right and never appear guilty. Another example, you express to them that you need support because you're going through a tough time. However, their response is clear. "Sorry, but my mind is too occupied right now. I'm dealing with my own issues." Interestingly, when you listen to their problems and even try to offer support, they don't seem to be nearly as busy. Sometimes this egoistic approach is more subtle. For example, when you help them, instead of showing gratitude, they might accept your help as if it was their due. It's as if everything in their life is supposed to happen this way. If you ask them for help, they will quickly find excuses and avoid taking responsibility. Their motto is, "This is not my problem." Being in a relationship with such people can be exhausting. You make sacrifices to maintain the relationship, showing understanding, but in return, you don't get the same value from them. Over time, their behavior will wear you down emotionally and psychologically. Remember, A healthy relationship is mutual. Only a relationship that constantly demands sacrifice from you is not a true relationship, but rather a one-sided burden. Third, egoistic people don't do anything without expecting something in return. For them, doing something good, showing care, or offering help is only possible under one condition: it must benefit them in some way. Their relationships are based on a "you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours" principle, and never on pure unconditional sacrifice. For example, if an egoistic person lends you money, it's probably not just to help you get out of a difficult situation. Most likely in the near future, they will expect a bigger favor in return. When they ask for the money back, it won't just be the money. They might also demand something else: a request, a service, or a special sense of gratitude. Even if you repay the debt on time, they won't hesitate to make you feel like you owe them forever, in order to maintain the sense of indebtedness. Another example, a co-worker suddenly offers to help you. At first, you take this as a kind gesture, but later you realize that they want you to return the favor by helping with their work at a later time. In essence, they didn't really help. They just made you feel indebted so that you'd return the favor when needed. Additionally, egoistic people love to remind you of the good deeds they've done for you and make you feel indebted. For example, if they helped you find a job once, years later they may say something like, "You know, if it weren't for me, where would you be now?" They want you to feel grateful for something that they perceive as a lasting investment rather than just a kind gesture. Sometimes this behavior is more subtle and hidden. For example, they might buy you an expensive gift for your birthday. You're thrilled and think about how generous they are. But after some time, when they ask you for something, they expect the same level of generosity from you. If you don't comply, they'll accuse you with statements like, "I've done so much for you, but you won't even do a small favor for me." In reality, people who do genuine, selfless good deeds don't manipulate you with gratitude. When they help, they do it with sincerity and without expecting anything in return. If someone constantly reminds you of their favors and turns them into a weapon against you, know that they have never been truly selfless. Egoists are master manipulators. Egoistic people are very skilled at emotional manipulation. They try to achieve their goals by making you feel guilty, blackmailing you, or applying emotional pressure. If you frequently feel forced to do what they want, be cautious. It could be part of their hidden agenda. So how do they do it? Egoists often use guilt as their primary manipulation tool. They try to make you feel indebted to serve their own interests. For example, if a friend asks you for something and you explain that you can't fulfill their request, they might immediately say something like, "I've done so much for you, but you can't find time to do this small thing for me." In this case, you end up feeling bad and feel forced to fulfill their request just to appease them. But the kindness shown to you should have been unconditional and sincere. Egoists are also skilled at portraying themselves as victims. If you say no to them, they will quickly present you as uncaring or emotionally detached. For example, if a colleague repeatedly asks for your help and this time you tell them you're not ready to assist because you're exhausted, their reaction might be, "I understand. No one wants to help me. I'm always forced to do everything alone." Such words make you feel guilty, and you feel obligated to help them. However, this is part of their plan, to put you in the position they want. Some egoistic people use emotional blackmail either openly or subtly. For instance, if a friend asks you for something and you refuse, they might immediately say, "If you're my friend, you'll do this. Otherwise, our friendship doesn't mean anything to me anymore." This is a clear manipulation. Their goal is to make you submit to their will and control your decisions. Egoists will never admit their mistakes. If something goes wrong, they will immediately try to blame others. For example, during a project, you notice things aren't going as planned, and you know the problem stems from your egoistic partner, but they will quickly blame you. "If you had done your part on time, we wouldn't be in this situation." In reality, the problem arises from their irresponsibility, but they try to make you the scapegoat to cover up their mistakes. 5. They can be your best friend or worst enemy. Egoistic people sometimes act very friendly to manipulate you. They try to appear sincere, compliment you, and draw you in. But when they don't get what they want, they turn completely the opposite and start blaming you, even adopting an adversarial stance. For example, an egoist might ask you for something, and when you refuse, they might first try to sweet-talk you and flatter you. "You've always been helpful. I know you won't leave me hanging this time." If you still refuse, their response changes immediately. "I've now seen your true face. You were never a good friend." They try to control you with emotional pressure so that you never dare to say no in the future. How to protect yourself from egoist manipulation? Set boundaries. When encountering different people, we must set boundaries. This doesn't only mean physical boundaries, but also protecting our emotional boundaries. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty or force you into hasty decisions. Believe in yourself and know that your thoughts and feelings are equally important. You're not obligated to meet others' demands and do everything they ask. If someone demands more from you or constantly violates your boundaries, it's a sign of an unhealthy relationship. Always ask yourself, does this hurt my self-worth? With this mindset, asserting your boundaries and asking for respect for your needs will help maintain balance in your relationships. Remember, setting boundaries is your right, and it's the best way to show respect for others as well. Learn to say no. Saying no can sometimes be the hardest decision, but it's one of the crucial steps to establishing healthy boundaries in your life. Respecting yourself and your time means firmly refusing when someone expects more from you. People often expect others to be generous and may want you to say yes to everything. However, you must always understand that your time and energy are limited. The more you say yes, the more responsibilities and people will weigh on you. This will eventually affect your mood and productivity. Saying a clear no in response to any request or demand helps protect your energy and teaches others about your boundaries. This simple word is essential for your comfort and emotional well-being. It also demonstrates your self-worth and shows others that your time and energy are valuable. Don't fall for their games. Sometimes, people try to get what they want by pressuring you or applying emotional blackmail. Their goal is to manipulate you and achieve their own objectives. For example, someone might pretend to be a victim to ask you for something, but this is just part of their game. People who play the victim role might use various tactics to pressure you, apologizing, creating worry, or forcing you to act. But this is simply a means of manipulation. If you find yourself in such a situation, stay calm and evaluate their actions dispassionately. Managing your reactions and not yielding to emotional pressure will help you maintain your inner strength and well-being. Instead of falling for their games, give your consent only on your terms and remain alert to manipulation. This approach will empower you emotionally and show others that you also have conditions. Protect your emotional health. Dealing with manipulative people who seek to weaken you emotionally can be challenging and exhausting. For this reason, protecting your emotional health is one of the most important priorities. Set clear boundaries in your relationships with such people, and try to manage your interactions without creating unnecessary tension. Your emotional health will affect other areas of your life. If you constantly feel stressed and anxious, it can harm both your psychological and physical well-being. Therefore, minimizing your relationships with people who harm you or manipulate you is essential for your comfort and inner peace. Surround yourself only with supportive and understanding individuals, which will contribute to your long-term emotional health. Remember, you deserve to be valued, and distancing yourself from negative influences is your right. Egoistic people see others as mere tools to achieve their goals. They manipulate the people around them to get the support they need. And once their goal is achieved, they no longer care about those they used. They treat others like tools. Once the tool has served its purpose, the interest and need for it end. For example, a colleague may take advantage of your experience and knowledge. They might ask for your advice, get new ideas from you, and involve you in their projects. In other words, they see you as a tool to achieve their goal. But once their objective is met, all contact with you may suddenly cease. They will no longer need your advice, meetings, or even to stay in touch. If one day you need advice from them, they will likely no longer be available. This is just like using a tool. Once the goal is achieved, the tool loses its importance. A similar situation can occur in personal relationships as well. An egoistic person may approach you when they need your help, such as when they face a difficulty in their personal life. At that moment, your support and care will be very important to them. By offering your help, you are showing them your value. However, once they achieve their goal, the relationship changes. Your needs, feelings, and concerns no longer matter to them. It was just a phase, and once that phase is over, you become a temporary connection in their life, and you no longer hold any significance for them. Egoistic people keep you close only for their own benefit, and once they no longer need you, they disappear. It's like being used as an object. When they need you, they are there, but at other times, you are forgotten like an object. They pursue only their own interests and never truly experience closeness or sincerity. This is a one-sided relationship that serves only one person's purpose, often highlighting one-sided benefits rather than mutual support and growth. Such people only keep those around who serve their own interests. For example, you might have a relationship with a friend, but they only reach out to you when they need something. However, when you need them, you can't find them. At that time, they'll mention being busy with work or other urgent matters. But in reality, their attention is solely focused on their own goals. This shows that the relationship with you was just a phase to fulfill their objective. True friendship is far from their concept. Finally, egoistic people are always focused on their own interests, and therefore they don't hesitate to use others. After achieving their goals, they often forget about others and only remember them when their own goals are fulfilled. In these relationships, true sincerity and mutual support are rare because the connection is limited to serving only one party's interests. Thus, the relationships that egoistic people create are often shallow and manipulative, rather than deep and mutually beneficial friendships. Recognizing egoistic people early is one of the most important steps in your life. Since they usually prioritize their feelings and needs over others, they aim to fulfill only their own interests in interactions. When communicating with such people, you need to be very careful to protect yourself and avoid emotional harm. The moment you feel they are trying to manipulate you, setting boundaries is the most important way to protect yourself. Egoistic people often try to find people's weaknesses, which drives their actions. Therefore, it is very important to clearly set your boundaries and learn to say no. This is not only about protecting yourself, but also about preserving your self-respect and value. Always remember that constantly prioritizing the needs of others and putting yourself second can lead to long-term psychological harm. In a relationship, both parties should feel heard and valued. To be immune to manipulation, always trust your feelings and intuition. Egoistic people often discover others' weaknesses and force them to serve their own goals. Therefore, when interacting with such a person, you must always think ahead and be cautious. Any interaction should never cross personal boundaries, especially emotionally. Healthy relationships, on the other hand, can only be built on mutual respect and empathy. Empathy means understanding and valuing each other's feelings. Egoistic people are far from this concept because, in their world, only their own desires and goals matter. In reality, a person using you solely to achieve their goals can never develop into a healthy and long-term relationship. The way to protect yourself is to always be aware of your value and needs. True friendships and relationships develop over time and require mutual understanding and support. Allowing an egoistic person into your life can be an opportunity to set boundaries and move towards healthier and more beneficial connections. In the end, the value others bring into your life depends on how they make you feel. Interacting with egoistic people may serve only short-term benefits, but relationships built on sincerity and mutual support will keep you happy and strong in the long run. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts in the comments. See you again soon.